Welcome to County Portal, your simple source for local government services and public records. Let's get started.
Calculating overtime pay rate is essential for understanding your paycheck and ensuring fair compensation in the United States. This guide will break down how overtime is determined and calculated, covering the key steps involved. Overtime pay is generally required by federal law, specifically the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA, for hours worked over 40 in a single work week. Many states also have their own overtime laws, which can sometimes offer even greater protections than the federal standard. Understanding these rules helps both employees know their rights and employers ensure compliance. The core principle of overtime pay is time and a half. This means your overtime hourly rate is 1.5 times your regular rate of pay. Let's walk through the steps to calculate this. First, you need to determine your regular rate of pay. This is not always just your base hourly wage. Your regular rate includes most forms of compensation, such as non-discretionary bonuses, commissions, and shift differentials, divided by the total hours worked in that week. For example, if you are paid $20 per hour and do not receive any additional compensation, your regular rate of pay is simply $20 per hour. If you receive a bonus that week, that bonus might need to be factored into your regular rate before calculating overtime. Second, you will calculate your overtime hourly rate. Once you have your regular rate of pay, multiply it by 1.5. Using our example, if your regular rate is $20 per hour, your overtime rate would be $20 multiplied by 1.5, which equals $30 per hour. This is the rate you get for every overtime hour. Third, you need to identify your total overtime hours. Overtime hours are any hours worked beyond the standard 40 hours in a work week. A work week is a fixed and recurring period of 168 hours, or 7 consecutive 24-hour periods. It does not have to align with the calendar week. For instance, if you worked a total of 45 hours in a work week, you have 5 overtime hours. 45 minus 40 equals 5. Fourth, you then calculate your total overtime pay. Multiply your total overtime hours by your overtime hourly rate. Following our example, if you worked 5 overtime hours at a rate of $30 per hour, your total overtime pay would be 5 hours multiplied by $30, which equals $150. Finally, to get your total weekly earnings, you add your regular pay to your overtime pay. In our example, 40 regular hours at $20 per hour equals $800. Add that to your $150 in overtime pay, and your total gross weekly earnings would be $950. It is important to remember a few key points. Overtime generally applies only to non-exempt employees, which typically includes most hourly wage earners. Salaried employees, especially those in executive, administrative, or professional roles, might be exempt from overtime rules if they meet specific salary and duties tests. Always check with your employer or state labor department if you are unsure about your exempt status. Also, some states, like California, have specific daily overtime rules, meaning overtime can be earned for hours worked over a certain limit in a single day, not just over 40 hours in a week. Always be aware of your local and state labor laws, as they can sometimes provide more favorable conditions than federal law. That covers the basics of calculating your overtime pay rate. We hope this explanation helps you better understand your earnings. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more useful financial tips, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. We appreciate your support.